Thanks for pressing play. Brian here, Fitzpatrick's Garage, Dublin Road, Kildare. I want to show you this car here, 2018 Honda Hrv. And we are Fitzpatrick's Garage, a family-run business in operation for almost 70 years. And Brian is my name. Any information you want on this particular car, please do call, text, WhatsApp, whatever suits, 086 843 1945, and I'd be happy to go through any information that you need on the car. And if you're watching on YouTube and you think the video is useful, then please do like and subscribe, because it lets me know the video is useful. Because this video will show you around what to expect in the middle spec, what's called an SE nav in a Hrv 1.6 diesel. This particular car is a really nice low mileage version. It's got a little over 18,000 miles on the car, and it's going to come with a service, and it'll also come with a 12-month warranty as well. This particular example we sourced from a main Honda dealer in the UK, and the reason being these Hrvs, when they were initially made for Ireland, we got very few of them. The factory that was based in Mexico used to produce about 23,000 cars a year, but unfortunately 20,000 of them went to North America, so we actually ended up only getting about 3,000 in Europe, and in Ireland that meant we got about 300 cars per year. And the problem then is we actually don't have enough cars to supply demand, so we started sourcing cars like these, but only nice low mileage example ones with genuine service histories. These Hrvs are really suitable for somebody that doesn't want a big and bulky SUV, but they still want to feel like they have an elevated driving position, and they also want a car with a nice level of spec. And one thing about this diesel version, these cars are extremely frugal. The chassis is based on the Honda Jazz, which makes it a really light chassis, but it's still got that super frugal 120 horsepower 1.6 diesel engine that's in the CRV and Civic. Another cool thing on these cars is versatility. People love the way you can use the magic seats in the back, so you can end up with a really large load area just by folding down the rear seats, which is similar to a light commercial vehicle. But even when the seats are up, the boot is actually comparable to something like a Nissan Qashqai, which technically is in a market that is in a larger SUV segment than this particular car, so the boot is very big as well. So in the rest of this video, what we're going to do is have a look around the features on the outside of this car, and we're going to go for a drive, and we'll have a look at more features on the inside. The front of the car then is going to have these parking sensors in through here. Front fog lights are going to be standard. I quite like the way this little protrusion comes out in the front bumper as well. It just makes it look a bit lower and more aggressive. And the headlights are completely automated on that car. What I mean is, at night time they come on by themselves, but when they meet traffic they actually dip themselves, and when they go into a country area they go full by themselves. The wheels in the car then are a nice diamond cut finish, so as you can see on an evening like this evening, they're really shiny and reflective. So as you can see, put my hand up to it, there's a nice shiny effect on it, so it looks really well on a sunny evening like this evening, but even in artificial light as well at night time they're also pretty cool too. And those side steps as well, they finish off the car quite nicely. One thing I always find on SUVs in general is that you look at the back of them and they're kind of low to the ground, and then you look at the front and they're kind of low to the ground, but in the middle then usually they look a little bit high. I love the way side steps just bring the side of the car down to a similar level to what you see in the front. It just makes the car look much more symmetrical overall. I think those ones suit the shape of the car really well, where they're fatter at the back and then they get a little bit thinner towards the front, and it just mimics the actual shape of the car. The colour on this car is what's called rouge black. Normally at a glance you would think it's a dark grey and almost black sometimes, but on an evening like this evening you can see the true colour of the car. There's nice purple shades in the car, so really becomes vibrant on evenings like this evening. And actually one thing I forgot to mention is there's parking sensors on the front of the car, and there's also parking sensors on the rear of the car as well. This car also has a hardened tray along the back, so normally when they came into Ireland they had a soft, and people used to think it was a little bit flimsy, the back tray, whereas a lot of people favour these harder ones. So these ones that come from the UK, they actually have a hard parcel shelf, and then depending on how height you are, to close them down you just have this little handle along here, push that and the boot's closed. This car has privacy glass on the rear, and on an evening like this evening when it's really bright you can see the benefit. So for those of you like me with young kids, it really does have a massive impact on them when they're in the back of the car, when you're trying to keep the sun out of their eyes. So the fact that the windows are tinted in the back, which is not normally standard on the Hrv, it actually does make a big difference. The other thing that's pretty relevant on these cars to warm weather is the windows and the mirrors. So the key is intelligent enough, so what you can do is, if you hold the key open button down, what happens is you can let the windows down, and when it's really warm like this, it just makes it more comfortable getting into the car. And similarly then, when you are, say, inside the house at night time and you want to make sure everything's locked, you just hit the button twice and it brings the windows up, and it also retracts your wing mirrors as well. Whoever thought we'd be so worried about heat in Ireland, but it actually is. Every summer there's a really warm spell. But anyway, so let's go for a drive in the car. Like what we said earlier, one of the things that people really liked about these cars was they weren't too big and bulky like, say, a CRV or a Tucson or something like that or whatever. This is for somebody that wanted a car that was high off the ground, but it didn't feel big and bulky. So in terms of size, this car really length and width, it actually isn't a whole lot bigger than, we'll say, a Jazz, but a Jazz is a big small car, but it is smaller than Civic in terms of length and width, but it is much higher, more elevated driving position, and the gear knob where it is savage. It's so nice to use. Most SUVs, a lot of them, especially in Honda, they always had the gear stick mounted a little bit higher, and it's much nicer to use than a lot of other cars. The other thing then after that is this engine. Like we were saying, it's 120 horsepower, 300 newton meters of torque. So as a 1.6 diesel engine goes, that's quite a good level of torque. So in terms of acceleration, when we get out closer to the motorway, we're just going to go from 0 up as far as 120 kilometers an hour. In terms of other cool things in the car, we'll have a look in a sec. It actually detects things like speed signs on the side of the road. You have cruise control over through here. Lights are automated, wipers are automated. We'll have a look at that in a sec. Anyway, let's get out to the motorway and go from 0 to 120. They feel nice on the back road like this as well. The gearbox, I think, is just really enjoyable to use. Steering feels good. And this example, brakes, clutch, gearbox, everything is in great condition as well. Feels like a nice tidy car. Like what we're saying, this is a good torquey engine, and actually, in fairness, these cars are capable of nearly 200 kilometers an hour. And the other thing as well is they get up to 60 miles an hour in about 10 seconds, which for a diesel actually is pretty sprightly. Anyway, they are also extremely good on fuel, and that's one of the reasons that people like them. A car like this coasts at 74 miles per gallon. Realistically speaking, most people do kind of 60-65 miles per gallon. That's about 4 to 4.5 litres per 100 kilometers. Another thing actually I forgot when it comes to versatility, so we were saying that you can fold down the back seats and all that kind of stuff, which we've seen already, but one of the cool things is they have magic seats, which they used to have in the Civic as well, which they don't anymore, and it has that tall mode, so if you want to drop something, lift the seat up and carry something awkward, sometimes people put all sorts of things, wheelchairs, golf clubs, all that kind of stuff across the back. And also size wise, the back of these cars is weird. It is weird just how much legroom you have, especially for this size, because this isn't the big SUV class, this is the kind of smaller end of the SUV class. The legroom, sitting behind myself at 6 foot, that's what I'm looking at. It's really, really good. You got isofix down through here, you got isofix under my bum, and you got a armrest in through the center here, and then there's three 3-point safety belts, head restraints, and even over my head here as well, nice little LED lights up in the roof as well. So, but really the space, 3 people across the back, genuinely 3 adults would be a bit of a squeeze, 3 kids, no problem at all. You can do 3 adults across the back, but it's not as comfortable, but 2 people in the back, the amount of legroom, this is a really comfortable car. Into the front then, usual stuff over here, like electrics for windows and mirrors. Down through here, parking sensors front and rear. We also have a setup where we can warn ourselves if we drift out of lane. There's an alarm, econ function, which reduces throttle sensitivity, and also the cruise control, as well as the air conditioner. And the steering wheel then will have things like speed limiter, it'll also have cruise control, and there's one other cool thing on the speed limiter, because when you see a speed zone, you can get this car to limit you to the speed zone. So along here we've got a cruise, we press the button again and it allows us to have a speed limiter, and if I press the button once more, we can see it's changed into a speed sign limiter. So when you're driving along in here, your speed zone will come up and it'll tell you that you're in a 60, 80, 100, 120 kilometer an hour zone. But if you go into a new zone with a new speed and the speed limiter is linked to the speed signs, it'll actually warn you that you're exceeding the speed and reduce power to try and get you to slow. After that then, other stuff, the steering wheel is obviously rake and reach, so that means you can go in and out and up and down. After that then, controls for radio in through here, and Bluetooth are down through there. Lights are automated for daytime, nighttime, and when you meet traffic, and the wipers are completely automated as well. Heating is dual zone, so I can have different temperatures on each side of the car with front and rear windscreen demisters. And in through here then, we have information such as parking information if I get too close to an object, and then after that then we have a touch and swipe Android radio, which is things like even an internet browser, but most things that people are going to use is things like radio, Bluetooth, and navigation as well. And down along through the centre then, you have this gear knob, which, as I was saying, I really like where it's mounted. You have start stop with an automatic park brake and a brake hold to stop you rolling on hills, and you've got a really super deep, if you want, drinks holder in through there, with some storage in through here, and an armrest that moves backwards and forwards. And finally, in through the bottom, easier probably to see from the other side, but just the way the sun is shining. So we've got 2 USB connectors, one here and one here, HDMI if you want to play video on the screen, and a 12-volt power outlet. And that screen I'm talking about is this one here. So there you have it. That is our 2018 Honda Hrv 1.6 diesel. And like we were saying, it's a nice, really low mileage one as well. So if you want information on the car, Brian is my name, 086 843 1945. Call, text, WhatsApp if you want any information about financing, trading in, or just about the car in general. And like we were saying, if you think the video is useful and you've been watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe, because it lets me know the video is useful. And if I've missed anything, just let me know and I'll cover it in another video. Thanks for taking time to watch. Hopefully the video is of interest, and hopefully the car is of interest.